Boom.
Boom! As Jeff
Boom.
just said, we are live. Welcome to the Xbox 2 podcast. I am one of your hosts, Randall Thor 19, the man with the million. And with me, as always, the one and only Jez Corden of Windows Central. What's going on, buddy?
Hi, pal. It's happening. I got coffee, so I'm not falling asleep at least. So that's something. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I've been playing a lot of games recently. I quit PUBG. Finally. I quit it. Cold turkey. Cold turkey. It's done. It's over. Say goodbye.
Why quit? Why just quit the game?
Because quite frankly, it's taking up too much of my time. There's too many other games I want to play, and I play the game for 5 hours a night. I have 300 hours into it. It's time to stop. I need to play other stuff.
Fair
So it's
enough.
over. I'll come back to the game when it runs at 60 frames. Nah, scratch that, because that's never going to happen. I'll come back to the game when they add achievements.
You think they'll never add 60 frames?
No, not with the game how it currently runs. No, maybe in a year from now. I don't know. Either way, I'll come back to the game when it has achievements. But PUBG, putting it to the back burner. Trying to play other stuff, more AAA stuff, the indie stuff that I always do. Like I put up my review today for Deep Rock Galactic. We'll talk about that. But first, I want to thank everybody for hanging in chat here on YouTube. And then thank you guys for listening on Google Play or SoundCloud. We're on there. The descriptions or the links are in the description of the video if you want to listen to the podcast in a different way. And Jez just told me, he just tweeted it out, that we are officially on iTunes.
Yes, we are. And the link will be in the description later, right?
Yes, the link will be in the description. If you guys could go over there, if you're listening to it, make sure you rate it. 5 stars if you really like it. 1 star if you hate us. Whatever. Leave a comment. It always helps. So we took the feedback and we put the show up on everywhere, so you guys can take Random Jez with you wherever you go. You can have us in your pocket on your phone as you travel the world. How's that, Jez? Pretty good?
Yes.
Right?
Excellent.
Excellent. So we have a bunch of topics we wanted to talk about today. We're going to talk about Deep Rock Galactic because it's brand new. Xbox Play Anywhere console exclusive. Me and Jez have both put some time into it, so we'll talk about that during the games played segment right away here in a second. We're going to be talking about State of Decay 2. Is it $30? Is it $40? Is it $60? What's going on with the price errors? UK retailers, they thought it was a certain price, but maybe it's not. But who knows? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Sega visiting Microsoft. Did anything really come out of that? Are we really getting Vanquish 2? Is Microsoft buying off Sega's IPs for $10? We'll talk about that as well. Also, the backwards compatibility program. Oh, I can't speak. Man, it's kicking ass.
Probably important if you're a podcaster.
Yeah, I know, right? I stumble over my words. I'm just so excited to talk to you, Jez. It's been a little bit, I get pumped to do the podcast and see everybody's reactions in the chat and stuff. So
me too. We got a nice community on this podcast. Shout out to our cool people in the chat channel.
That's right. And the 360 games, there was a bunch of new ones that got Xbox One X enhanced. And whatever else we'll talk about. Maybe we'll even talk about how PlayStation just destroyed games with gold for next month. But yes, kind of sneakily also, well, we'll talk about that. But first, Jez, as always, what have you been up to? What have you been playing? How you been?
What have I been playing and how I've been? I've been good, but more importantly, what have I been playing? I've been playing Surviving Mars.
What?
That's right. Surviving Mars. And it's not even out for another month.
Wow, so, look at you, intrepid game journalist, you.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm even allowed to say that, but YOLO. I can't really talk about it, like my impressions and stuff yet, I don't think. But if you don't know, Surviving Mars is kind of like a City Skylines type game set on Mars. So the idea is that you land on Mars and you have to colonize it and stuff like that. And I've been playing that religiously the last few days, but I can't say whether it's good or not. But it's pretty damn good, man.
You gotta be careful. The ninjas will come and get you.
Oh no, not the ninjas, the PR ninjas. But yeah, I've been playing that quite a bit. But also I've been playing Deep Rock Galactic, which I can talk about, which we're gonna talk about in a bit, in more detail, which is also pretty damn good. I've also been playing I've been playing a lot of Monster Hunter World as well on streams and stuff. Amazing co-op game, and you've still not played that, have you? Monster Hunter World.
Monster Hunter, no, it sits there in my games and apps, and
you need to find someone to play with. It's the best co-op game I've played in years. It's so viciously addictive, and you feel like you're progressing with every single thing that you do. It's such a great game to just sort of log on and smash things with a big giant axe or a hammer and stuff like that. It seems it's got a simplicity to it, but also lots of depth. So I really, really love Monster Hunter World. It's a great game. Also, what else have I been playing? That's pretty much it, Rand. Played a little bit of PUBG, the game that you hate now.
I don't hate it. I'm just over it, man. I'm over it.
You're over it. Fair enough. You're over it. Fair enough. But yeah, that's pretty much me, man. Not a huge amount of variety, but there's still so many games in my backlog that I want to play. And yes, we are going to be doing a Windows Central preview for Deep Rock Galactic. There is already one on the site, but it's a few weeks old from an older build. So I'll be writing on my thoughts on Deep Rock Galactic, and we're going to talk about it right on the podcast in a minute. Just because Rand is going to tell us now what he's been playing recently.
Right, I've been playing PUBG, and the games lately have been absolutely abysmal. We haven't won in over like a week and a half, and it's just not fun to play anymore. So that's why I'm kind of not playing PUBG that much. I know Gopher and Maka and Magic are all crying because they'll miss me. They'll miss my teamwork. But I have been playing. What have I been playing? I played a little bit of Darkest Dungeon, which comes out today. I think I'll have a video about that tomorrow. Oof, pretty brutal, like a turn-based RPG where like every battle matters. It's got permadeath and stuff, and I love the gothic art style. I've only played a couple hours. I'm going to try to play some more tonight and give an impressions video tomorrow. I also checked out Turok 1, although I can't really say anything about Turok 1 until Friday.
You totally can if you're talking about the N64 version.
Well, I didn't play the N64 version. I didn't have a 64.
There's only one thing I can remember about the N64 version of Turok, because I think I rented it or something. I don't think I owned it, or I borrowed it from a friend or something. But there is a gun that shoots a drill which can stab dinosaurs in the head, which is amazing. I think that's Turok. I can't. Yeah. Someone in the chat will enlighten me, but that's all I can remember from Turok, and it might not even be from Turok.
And it's Turok 1 and Turok 2. They're coming to Xbox One exclusively, I guess.
But I am mad at the studio around the Turok studio.
I know they put the System Shock remake on hiatus.
Yes, that makes me very angry because I backed that game.
I know. I was looking forward to it. Like, I love the BioShock games. I know they're like kind of descendants of System Shock, but I never played any of the System Shocks. So I was kind of looking forward to playing this one and to see them like basically say, yeah, people gave us $1 million and we were building the game and we're like building something new and not a remake, and we had to like shut it down. I'm like, man, like, oh, come on.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, I played Darkest Dungeon. I played a little bit of Turok. Those come out on Friday. I actually bought 2 games on PlayStation last night. They're having a huge like Critics' Choice Awards on PlayStation. So for $40, I picked up Uncharted Lost Legacy and Gravity Rush 2. Pretty good deal. Like, they were both like half price. I'll check those games out. And I do have a large backlog of not only Xbox games now, but also PlayStation games. And I've been kind of curious about that Moss game that came out in VR. The game looks kind of adorable, but we'll see if I have time to play that anytime soon. But my focus the last couple days has been Deep Rock Galactic. I put about 7 hours into it. You've been streaming that nonstop with Roby and Excellion on Mixer, and the game has like mixer functionality built in. It's an Xbox One console exclusive. Like right now, it's on Xbox Game Preview. It's also on PC, early access on Steam. $25, and it's Xbox Play Anywhere. So why don't you give your thoughts, Jez? What do you think about Deep Rock Galactic?
Well, first of all, I need to describe the history of this game because it's actually kind of interesting. So, Deep Rock Galactic was originally a concept game from Press Play Games, who you might remember as the creators of a couple of mobile games like called Tentacles Enter the Mind. But for Xbox fans, they'll remember them for Max the Curse of Brotherhood. And they were a Microsoft studio, and they came up with 3 concepts for games. One was Project Karoo,
Right.
which was like a vehicle building game similar to Nuts and Bolts. And then there was also Project Knoxville, which was kind of like a Hunger Games type sort of game, like a battle royale.
And that's the game that actually won the poll, right?
That's the game that won the poll.
Yeah.
And then there was Project Dwarka, which I voted for. And Project Dwarka was basically this game where you play as dwarfs, you go digging through mines, there's loot and stuff like that, and also Left 4 Dead type mechanics coming out. So those are the 3 concepts that Xbox fans could vote for. Project Knoxville won, but and they had a series of alpha tests for Project Knoxville, and Project Knoxville it was problematic in a lot of ways, and I never wanted this game to win because I knew it would be super hard to balance. And I knew Project Dwarka would be the game. I voted for Project Dwarka because I thought it was the one that was most obvious, a concept that could work. But Project Knoxville won, and it just sort of struggled and struggled and struggled. And it's funny, Rand, because there's a game that's coming out soon called the Darwin Project, which I thought was Project Knoxville because it looked so similar in gameplay, but it isn't actually. The Darwin Project is nothing to do with Press Play Games. But Project Dwarka actually is Deep Rock Galactic, because after Microsoft shut down Press Play Games because Project Knoxville was struggling or whatever, they shut down Press Play Games, and Press Play Games split into 3 different studios, or 2 different studios. So one of the studios went to work on Project Karoo, which is now a game called Trailblazers, I believe, and that is actually coming out as well in a few months. And the other studio became Ghost Ship Games, and they took the concept for Project Walker, and they're shipping it now. So as Deep Rock Galactic. So I finally got the game that I voted for, even though it didn't win. So that's the interesting history of Deep Rock Galactic. It could have been a Microsoft exclusive, but no, it isn't.
I guess there is some sort of the exclusivity there. I mean,
timed exclusive.
Timed exclusive. Microsoft, I don't know, like, in exchange for them because Microsoft normally, when these companies like shut down the studios, those projects would have been Microsoft's. Like, no, those are ours, but they let the studio have their IP and stuff, so that they built.
It's kind of a cool thing on Microsoft's part that they let these studios keep their concepts and their concepts for the games they were making. So like Project Karoo's being made, and now Project Walker's being made, and the Darwin Project isn't anything to do with Press Play Games, but it is pretty much exactly what Project Knoxville was. So in a way, we're getting all 3 games in a sort of roundabout way. But
it's a really good game. Like, first and foremost, it's a lot of fun in co-op. I mentioned it's game preview, so there's bugs and stuff. But honestly, it's one of the more polished game preview games I've ever played.
I mean, it's 60 FPS, which can't be said for some other certain shooter.
And on Xbox One X, it runs at 1800p. And I think on the regular one, the regular system, the OG or in the S, it runs at 1080p, but maintains the solid 60 frames. It's got a lot of content there. You got the 4 dwarves to choose from, all with different abilities and stuff. And the main focus for me, the main thing I like about it, because even though you can play solo, I find it a tad bit boring solo, is 4-player co-op. You don't have a lot of indie games that have online co-op. They're a local co-op, and this is where the game succeeds because it's a ton of fun to play with your friends. Like, I didn't know if I would like it. I didn't know if this was going to be a game for me, but I got in there with my buddy Love Boat Gopher and my buddy Sam, and we just started having a blast playing the game.
Yeah, it's an amazing concept, and I fell in love with the concept when they first announced it. It's for those who don't know, it's basically the best bits of Minecraft survival mode when you're going through deep dark caves, and Left 4 Dead where you're fighting hordes, waves of procedurally generated monsters, you know, and there's even like super monsters like in Left 4 Dead, like those Praetorian things, giant spiders with spikes that are armored, and they have weak points you have to shoot. And did you encounter any of the ceiling things that lift you up to the ceiling?
I actually included that. I actually included that in my my video, because that was the only time we saw one. Like, I was following Gopher, he was using the gunner, so he had the zip line, right? And all of a sudden he just flew up to the ceiling and he was getting eaten by those things from like Half-Life. You remember those?
Yeah. Oh, what are they called now? Like the barnacles, I think they were called.
Yeah.
Those barnacle things. Yeah, it's the game is, the whole game's procedurally generated, and it's Unreal Engine. So like all the mines are procedurally generated, like in Minecraft. It looks a lot better than Minecraft, obviously. It's like looks more modern, but it still has that sort of pixelated sort of art style because it's procedurally generated, stuff like that. 60 frames per second, runs smooth as hell when it's not crashing. Again, game preview, but it's class based like Left 4 Dead. Well, no, Left 4 Dead isn't class based, but it is class based. So there's one of the classes is really good at drilling through the rocks. One of the classes is really good at using light and can shoot flares and stuff like that, because light is a really important thing in the game, because all the caves are pitch black, dark. So you have to use flares and stuff, and the lighting effects are incredible. They're so cool. Like when you throw a light, a flare down a tunnel, and it like lights up the tunnel as it's moving through all the rocks. It looks so good. And then you've got the gunner, who's got a big gun and can shoot things, and also he can like create like bridges across caverns and stuff like that with a grappling hook, which is also a really polished mechanic. I thought if anything in Deep Rock Galactic was going to be bugged, it was going to be the grappling hook thing, but it actually works pretty well. And then there's a scout who can is it the scout? And like there's an engineer that can build turrets like Torbjorn.
Yep, and there's the gunner, who's like basically the offensive guy with the big ass Gatling gun and stuff. So
yeah, I said that. Yeah.
Because like the game is basically like Jess says, Left 4 Dead meets Minecraft. Your objective is to mine these precious minerals in these gigantic caverns. But the thing is, there's these alien, I don't know what you want to call them, like alien bugs that don't like the fact that you're there, so they'll swarm you and attack you. And sure, you got in the easier difficulties, they're pretty much a cakewalk. But we actually played on like the second level up, like challenging.
It gets really hard.
It gets pretty difficult. So that's why you're going to need to upgrade your gear, because you can make your weapons more powerful and your armor have more hit points and stuff like that. So all in all, like, I went in not knowing much about the game, not sure if it was for me, and I want to play more of it. I think people should check it out. Obviously, there's a free 1-hour trial. You guys can determine it for yourself. But I think the game's a blast, and I'd recommend it for $25 if you have people to play with in co-op. If you're looking to play solo, you can, but I wouldn't recommend it because it's a little bit boring.
Yeah, it's in solo you have like a little robot who helps you do mining and stuff like that, but in co-op it's where the game really comes alive. It's like you have to use all the different tools together. You have to make sure the light's there. You even have to bring your little trolley around with you to deposit your mining stuff. It's such a slick game, and it's really smart the way that every aspect of it is cooperative, like traversal's cooperative, lighting's cooperative, combat's cooperative. Everything that you do, you have to work together. You have to use a lot of communication, and there's also that tool which you can use to point at the rocks and stuff like that. So it's a really smart game, and it's kind of frustrating to me, because I think if Press Play had just chosen this concept, there'd probably still be a Microsoft Studio, and this game would be like pretty big now, maybe.
The one complaint I do have, because even with like these caverns can be quite huge, and that's even on the lower complex one, because they're rated like on complexity and length. The ones that are really complex, sometimes you'll be searching for 10 minutes to figure out where to go next. You'll be
Dude,
like walking around in circles until you find like the right area that you're supposed to like dig through.
there definitely needs to be some tweaks to the biomes and the procedural generation. But you say you were looking for 10 minutes. We were looking for 50 minutes stuck in this giant cave complex because we needed some more Morkite to finish the level, and we couldn't find any more Morkite. And we looked literally everywhere. It got to the point where I was just drilling random holes in random directions to try and find another cave, and we couldn't find one. So like, I do think that there needs to be some tweaks here and there, or like something, or some like little robot you can use which can help point the way to the next cave or something like that. But that, if they can get the balance right, it's kind of cool when you are stuck and you do find where the next cave is, because it's that whole discovery thing, kind of like Minecraft, where like you can. Well, all of my fondest memories of Minecraft were spelunking through random caves, and I really think Minecraft didn't really explore that concept enough, really.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to combat and stuff like that. So basically, it takes the best bits of Minecraft from a combat perspective, mixes it with Left 4 Dead, and comes away with something really awesome. But it is early access. And one more thing, Rand. Did you try the Mixer integration?
No, we wasn't streaming it yesterday, Jazz.
Yeah. Okay, so Deep Rock Galactic is integrated with Mixer. And if you enable it, Rand, as we enabled it, people can spawn spiders in your game. Now, it probably needs some fine tuning because there is no cooldown on the amount of spiders people can spawn in your game. So we turned it on, and there was so many spiders on screen that it was lagging the game out, and we survived somehow because like people can also heal you with Mixer Interactive. So half of our viewers were trying to kill us with spiders, and the other half was trying to heal us and give us like loot bugs and stuff like that. And it was just pure chaos. So I think they probably need to tweak that and add cooldowns to the Mixer Interactive stuff. But it's so cool because it comes up on the screen with their username, like Randall Thor has spawned a Praetorian, and then like all of a sudden, like out of the darkness comes like a giant mob with your name on it in my game. And I think that is using Mixer to its full potential. And if they can nail the cooldowns and stuff like that, I think it could be just like the best example of Mixer Interactive that is available on the platform right now.
Well,
it doesn't need to tune.
Sam Tolbert in chat has a question for you. He says, it sounds like a lot of fun. Do they have a roadmap for new features, enemies, and biomes to add, or are they just polishing it?
I don't know if they've shared their roadmap. I'll probably reach out to them and ask them that, or try and check out the subreddit or something. But they did tweet earlier today, like teases for new cosmetics that they're going to add, because they admit that there's like limited progression right now. I think they were just focusing on getting the game out there, getting the basics up and stuff like that. But it has a lot more content and playability than most games
for sure
that release in game preview, and they call it an alpha. It's not even a beta yet. So if you liked Left 4 Dead, this more than scratches the itch that Left 4 Dead's kind of left as Valve practically abandoned the game. So
and there are 7 different biomes, by the way. So there's 7 areas that look different. Great, yeah, they all look different. They all look great. It is weird how you choose missions though, because they're like, you can't always choose a mission in anywhere you want to go. Like every hour the missions kind of rotate and select biomes and stuff. So but I get what you're trying to say. Like I would like to see the roadmap too, like, because honestly, I mean, like, just like Sea of Thieves, where it's like, what do I do in the game? Oh, I just sail around, collect treasure, buy stuff. That's kind of like what Deep Rock Galactic is. You go into a mine, you mine the minerals, defeat the enemies, and then you take the gold that you get from doing the mission and you upgrade your weapons. What do you upgrade your weapons for? Well, so you can do the harder missions that give you more money. And, you know, like, it's kind of that type of progression system currently.
Yeah. It's got huge potential, and you know, I guess we'll see how it goes. Yep. You know, Rand, there is one game that I forgot to say that I'd been playing actually earlier, But but all this talk about roadmaps just reminded me of it. I jumped back on Astroneer the other day, for the first time in about a year, because Astroneer just had its biggest update, and the whole game has changed.
Really? I remember playing that when it first came out, and I thought it was kind of cool. Not my type of game. I'm not really into the survival kind of building stuff, but you know who really likes that game, by the way?
Who?
Phil. Like, he really likes that game. I played it with him a few times.
I always say to Phil, if there's one studio that you offer to buy, make it System Era and get Astroneer unlocked, because the Astroneer devs, they're called System Era, I think. They actually have a public Trello board which shows their whole roadmap for the game. So like they've got farming planned, they've got all these like other Minecrafty type features planned, like this huge roadmap. But they're such a small team. I think their team's like 10 people or something. And it's kind of like it's taken them a year just to get the new research system out. So like Astroneer now has this whole new research system and this whole new base building system where like you have to build, you can put the platforms wherever you want now. Like, I don't know if you remember before in Astroneer, but in Astroneer before, you basically, the platforms basically just went in a straight line out from your base. Now you can sort of pick them up and put them wherever you want. So it's a lot more, there's a lot more freedom in the base building aspect of the game now. And stuff like that, and a lot more complexity, and also the research system is a lot more in depth now. Like you can research all the different plants and stuff like that, and different kinds of biological material, and basically they've completely changed the way the game works. And but they've got this huge roadmap of stuff they want to do in the game, but it feels like they're kind of bottlenecked by the amount of staff they've got working for them. So I would love it if Microsoft could just like say, invest in the studio and like help them achieve their roadmap in exchange for exclusivity or something like that.
Kind of similar to what Microsoft did with Cuphead.
Yeah, and to Ashen, I suppose, to some degree, because I think Microsoft probably had a hand in publishing Ashen, but before they were picked up by what that publisher now, the one who did well, anyway, the
Annapurna Interactive.
Yeah, that's right.
Which, by the way, I don't know if you know this. You know, in the beginning of this generation, PlayStation was publishing a lot of indies, and then they kind of dropped Rime. They dropped What Remains of Edith Finch, right? And they kind of got out of that publishing indies thing. A lot of people that were involved in that aspect of PlayStation run Annapurna Interactive now.
Oh, that's interesting.
So they left Sony and they run Annapurna Interactive, and they're doing good things over there. Edith Finch, Ashen, I think what was that? The Last Night?
Such a sleeper hit, man.
Last Night, or maybe it was The Artful Escape. I forget. Like some of those are Annapurna Interactive. So they're doing cool stuff. Anyways, yeah. So Deep Rock Galactic out now for $25. Got a 1 hour trial. Give it a go. You might enjoy it, especially if you have friends. On to the topic list, Jez. You ready for some of this stuff that we have here to talk about? You want to talk about the back and pat stuff first?
Sure, man. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so the Xbox team, in my opinion, even though I'll be the first one to say it, I don't use back and pat. I'm still kind of amazed by how much work and effort they put into doing that. They have 460 titles in the back and pat program. Way more than anybody thought they would do, right? They added original Xbox back and pat. Well, yesterday announced that they enhanced 4 new 360 games to get Xbox One X treatment. So native 4K, 9 times the pixel count, all that good stuff. And they were Witcher 2, Crackdown, Fable Anniversary, and the last Forza Horizon, right? And people were extremely happy about that. With Crackdown finally being added to back and pat. And for the first time in like 6 months, the Crackdown Twitter account tweeted, "Yay! Crackdown's alive and well." They tweeted, all right. Of course, they wouldn't say anything about Crackdown 3, even though they were asked. So it seems that Microsoft is still going 100% on back and pat. What do you think about all this, Jez?
Well, I know you don't like back and pat because
it's not that I don't like it. It's just for people that love, like, look,
You've completed every single game in existence.
Right.
That's
like,
why
look,
you don't like back compat.
No, I just don't have any use for it. Like, I love the fact that it's there.
Hate back compat.
I don't hate it. All right, go up. Continue.
Anyway, so you know, I don't use back compat that much either. You know, the games I like back compat because I like to have I like to own all the games digitally. And the more games that come to back compat, the more games I can get digitally on my Xbox One, which gives me less and less reasons to own a 360, because I've got this OCD thing where I can't get rid of my 360 because on the off chance that I want to go back and play one of those old games that aren't backwards compatible yet, on the small off chance. So the more games that come to that, the better, because it means I can finally ditch my 360 collection. But for those that do like back compat and those that do use it, and Microsoft says there are millions of people who do use it, it was a pretty great day for back compat, because not only did they bring new games to backwards compatibility, they bought enhanced games to backwards compatibility, which basically takes their maximum settings PC version and basically brings it to console. So like The Witcher 2 at the time, it really struggled on the 360. The 360 could barely run The Witcher 2. And I think that's the main reason The Witcher 2 didn't come to PS3, was because CD Projekt Red didn't have the resources to port it at the time, but also just because the 360 could barely run it. And it was a PC port as well. And the PS3 was notoriously bad at porting games from PC at the time. The PS3, that was just the thing. So like, but The Witcher 2 at the time looked really good on PC. Like it was one of the best looking games on PC at the time. So like, to get that experience on Xbox One X now is kind of like, wow, some modern games don't look this good, you know. And I mean, yeah, you can put it next to The Witcher 3 and The Witcher 3 destroys it, obviously. But The Witcher 2 on Xbox One X, it doesn't look bad at all. It looks really, really damn good. And people were talking about Forza Horizon on Xbox One X and saying like it looks better than a lot of other races out there, modern races, you know. Today.
Well, it definitely looks better than that Burnout Paradise remaster that EA is going to try to sell for you for $40 next month. That's for sure.
Wow. Bloody yeah.
And that's someone who loves Burnout Paradise, but that remaster does not look good. Like I know that this is important to Phil and the team at Microsoft about preserving the Xbox catalog of like all the generations and making good on the promise of, hey, you buy your games here digitally, we'll make the promise to you that we'll carry this forward. It's important to them, right? It's a platform kind of staple.
Yeah.
And despite me not having any use for it, I love the fact that it's an option. Like it's just there. It doesn't affect them, you know, making new games or signing new IPs or any of that stuff. It's just giving kind of 360 fans, you know, like, hey, you want to play a game that you bought a couple years ago and now it looks better? You have that ability. It also works as a differentiator between PlayStation Now, like the back compat service on PlayStation that you need to subscribe to. It's streaming only, and you have to rebuy the games you own. So, I mean, it works in Microsoft's favor. It's great to see it continue. I wonder kind of how many games are actually going to make it in the service. There's 460 now. Are we looking at like 700? You know, when it's all said and done, how many games will be enhanced for the X, right? Like, there's 11 right now. How many more do they go back and do? What do you think, Jess? How many more games do you think they actually go back and kind of spruce up for the X? Another 10, another 15, another 20?
I don't know. I think it often hinges on whether how easy it is to do that, because like obviously with The Witcher 2, the game had been scaled down for the 360 because it has a PC version. So like those assets were there for it to be upscaled. I don't know if the same's true for Forza Horizon and stuff like that, but if a game was made natively for that platform and it didn't have good looking textures, that, you know, if the textures were made crappy for the console on purpose, then there's nothing a There's nothing to upscale, you know. Obviously they can do things like up the resolution and stuff, but in some cases, like in Fallout 3, for example, just making Fallout 3 4K resolution exposed how bad some of the textures actually were and stuff like that. And I think like Silent Hill HD collection actually had this problem when they ported from the generation before last, because when they ported, so I think it was Silent Hill 2 that had this problem. They ported Silent Hill 2 to 360 from its OG Xbox version or its PS2 version or whatever, and the fog wasn't high resolution enough for the 360, so it basically like exposed all the fact that there wasn't a world behind all the buildings, because on the PS2 on the PS2 the fog would have obscured that, but because the fog was too low resolution, you just got like this weird effect where you could see everything that wasn't there, you know, behind the buildings. So like I think there are some issues where some games just can't be upscaled. So like but I think because it seems like Microsoft's doing the heavy lifting on this, I don't think CD Projekt Red had any hand in the upscaling of Witcher 2 besides saying to Microsoft, yeah, go ahead. I don't think CD Projekt Red sat there and had any hand in doing that themselves. I think it was
I doubt it.
Yeah, it was Microsoft's backwards compatibility team. So basically, it just relies on those devs signing off on it. If we can get like, you know, Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 2 looked pretty great in the 360 anyway, but it also had high res versions for PC. If we can get that on max settings on Xbox One X, that'd be great. And like all these other games that were big on PC, if we could get their maximum settings PC version on Xbox One X, that could be great. I think there could be loads more, Ran. I think there could be dozens more, because there's so much potential here. And it, like you say, it's a key differentiator. It's a huge differentiator. So.
I mean, and it's nice to see, like, because this is something nobody expected originally when the X was announced, that it would enhance some of the 360 games. So hopefully Microsoft keeps it up, and I'm just kind of curious to see what other big titles they could do it for. You know, they did it for some of the bigger ones, but you know, it's gotta take a lot of work and effort to do that stuff. But yeah, so that's the back compat stuff. 460 games. If you had to make a guess, when is the next batch of original Xbox games they're going to put out? Like, if you had to put a date on it.
Well, didn't they actually tease this? Didn't they say, like, early next year?
Well, yeah, they did. And they did say when they announced original Xbox that back compat that there wouldn't be as many games as the 360, so don't expect a lot.
Yeah, there's licensing issues there.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give you my guess, and then you can guess along with me. And people in chat, you can guess whatever you think it is. I think they're gonna time the next batch along with Seamus Blackley's redesigned Xbox Duke controller.
Oh, that'd be amazing. So when does that come out? That comes out.
The end of March.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, it seems like it kind of writes its own style. People will be talking about the Duke controller. You release maybe 6 new Xbox back compat games that you can use with the controller. I think it kind of writes itself, right? I mean, I don't know. That's kind of my prediction. What do you think?
No, I totally agree. I think like it'd be great. It's an obvious way to line it up, and hopefully I'll be getting one of those to review as well.
Ooh, look at you go!
Look at me go with the free stuff. Thanks everyone for giving me free stuff. Give me more free stuff. I like it.
And you say you're a terrible journalist.
I am a terrible journalist.
You're so terribles.
I'm good at tricking people into thinking I'm a good journalist. That's how you be a journalist.
That's how you be a journalist.
The Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay, those need to come to back compat.
Yeah. All right, so that's the back compat stuff. Let's talk about Sega. Shall we? Sega. You know, as someone who kind of was a Sega fan, I went from the NES to Sega, the Genesis. I had the Sega CD. I had the Sega 32X. I had the Sega Saturn. I had the Sega Dreamcast.
Totally a Sega kid.
You know, I was a Sega kid. Like, I remember going to my friends who were, and you know, Nintendo fans, right? Who had like the Super Nintendo and the 64, and I'd be like, my version of Mortal Kombat has blood in it, red blood. Yours doesn't. My version of Mortal Kombat's better. You know, like the true console war back on the playgrounds. You know, when we were like,
God,
15 when it, you know,
it's so funny because it just never changes. You know, war.
yeah.
Because it's like when you said that, I just got flashbacks of arguing with someone at school whether Final Fantasy VII was better than Ocarina of Time.
So this visit, right? Sega posted many pictures on their Twitter account. You can check it out for yourself. I didn't make a video about it because I didn't really know what to talk about. You know, I talk a lot about rumors and speculation on the channel, and some other people did it for me. So I was like, I'm gonna let this one kind of see what comes out of it first before I do anything about it, right? And man, some of the theories that are coming out. You know, like Microsoft is #1 buying Sega, right? They're buying Sega.
Can you imagine?
I mean, great, but you know, Sammy Holdings owns Sega, so they couldn't do it. Like, but it wasn't just that. Like, they're buying some of the IPs. They're resurrecting the Dreamcast, and the next Xbox will be called Xbox Dreamcast 2, right? Or they're going to put Dreamcast games in backwards compatibility and on Xbox Game Pass. Like, the rumors were just flying, the speculation. What are these two companies doing together? Why would they meet? Couldn't they just do this over email? And I'm sitting over there like laughing. I'm like, okay, I mean, yeah.
Calm down, boys.
I'm like, okay, they had a meeting. Like, we know Microsoft and Sega have a good working relationship. Creative Assembly, which is a studio owned by Sega, worked on Halo Wars 2. They developed it. So there's a good relationship there. But I'm just sitting back, just like seeing all this stuff, and I'm like, okay. I don't think any of it's true. I don't think Microsoft is buying Sega because honestly,
I'd be down for that.
I know a lot of people would, but in this day and age, what does Sega realistically have? And when I mean that, I know they have a lot of IP, but I'm talking about killer IP that is relevant right now in this day and age.
Yes!
Choo-choo rocket. Like, they don't have anything that is relevant. Yeah, Sonic, but Sonic has been a pale of his blue self for years.
Reboot.
They destroyed Condemn with the second one.
Echo the Dolphin reboot.
Come on. I mean, Yakuza's probably the most thing they're known for these days.
Gunstar Heroes reboot.
Star Heroes. Yakuza's on the PlayStation. Maybe Microsoft went over there to be like, hey, bring Yakuza to Xbox. We want more Japanese games on there. It's a possibility.
Sega Bass Fishing reboot.
I just look at the games that Sega has, and it's like, okay, Bayonetta, great, but obviously Nintendo has some sort of deal there, or they're doing it with exclusively on their system. Then there's the Vanquish stuff, which we'll talk about in a minute. But honestly, Jez, what do you think's happening with are they just meetings? Were they just in town? And they're like, let's go have Phil Spencer pay for dinner and we'll just talk business? Were they really looking to shop something? Or is it more just people, since they don't know the future of Xbox, they're trying to grasp to anything. Like, give me any information. Oh, Sega's doing something, so this must mean something, right? Like, what do you think?
Golden Axe reboot.
They did that last gen.
Dead reboot.
They did a Golden Axe reboot last gen. Did you play it?
Wasn't the Golden Axe reboot an Xbox exclusive?
It might have been, and it was terrible, and it sold like poo.
But maybe they'll make a good one. No, I don't know. The thing is, man, companies visit companies all the time. I mean, Sega probably have like loads of dealings with Microsoft all the time, and maybe they were just in the area. Like, for example, Bungie visited Microsoft around the launch of Destiny 2 because they wanted to discuss Xbox One X support and stuff like that, and it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a thing. It was just them meeting their business partners, and it didn't have to really mean anything major. It could just be that Sega just wanted to talk about games they've got upcoming. I mean, what does Sega have coming up soon? I don't even know. Let's have a look.
The Yakuza game. I think Yakuza 6 is the next one. I can't even think of what else they have.
Isn't Yakuza PlayStation exclusive?
They only come out on PlayStation, yeah. But
is it just because of the Japanese? I think that there's no market for it.
Someone says Steph Keep It G says Persona. Does Sega own Persona? Do they own that IP? I thought that was Atlas. Or did Sega buy Atlas?
Did Sega buy Atlas?
I don't
No,
know.
I don't think so.
I mean, he's saying that Atlas is owned by Sega.
Oh yeah, it
Uh,
is.
okay, I guess. I mean, did that happen recently? I
Oh yeah.
honest.
No, yeah. It was reported that Sega Sammy Holdings won a bid to acquire the bankrupt Index and blah 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 blah. Sega now separate blah 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 blah. Hang on, I'm trying to figure this out. New Atlas would include a foreign subsidiary, which reverts name back to Atlas USA and the establishment of the new Atlas. In April 2017, Sega Sammy Holdings announced a relocation of head office functions of the Sega Sammy Group and its domestic subsidiaries. Uh, Atlas is one of the companies that will relocate in response to this. So yeah, it looks like Sega is the parent company of Atlas.
Okay, we also
And
have
Atlas owns Persona.
the
Oh my
outer
God, Persona on Xbox!
the Outer Haven
Yeah,
production
you heard it here
says
first, guys. Sorry.
he says, but Sega is not allowed to touch certain IPs of Atlas's. So
What?
I don't know. It doesn't. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. I mean,
What?
Persona 5, yeah. I mean, a lot of people love it. High Metacritic, 2 million sales. Yakuza series, people love it. It's on PlayStation. It does well. They always do it. But like, I can't really think of any like Alien Isolation came out a couple years ago. Was a great game. Who knows if they're doing a sequel? Sonic games always come out, but they're mostly always terrible. Like I don't know. Like you go to Mike like because they're like the talk like, oh, they're gonna buy Sega, and I'm just like, but like with EA I get, because EA has like name games that are relevant in this day and age. Even though it would be too expensive, I at least get the thought process. Battlefield, Titanfall, like all that stuff, right? What does Sega got? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. So to me, that doesn't make any sense. Now, the Dreamcast stuff would be cool. Like, I ain't gonna lie. Like, if Microsoft were somehow to get a thing where they got some of the licenses for some of the Sega games for the Dreamcast and they could offer that in Back and Pat or Game Pass, that would be cool. Although, just like Back and Pat, I personally wouldn't be interested in it, but I know a lot of people who would.
Honestly, I would rather Microsoft bought Sega than EA. I think Sega could represent better return on investment or quicker return on investment.
Well, because it would be cheaper, right?
Because it'd be cheaper and much cheaper, and also I really think Sega has a lot of IP that has unrealized potential, and Sega has all this value locked up within it, and they don't seem to know what to do with it in the modern age. For a while, it felt like Capcom was like this too, but I feel like Capcom has started to sort of find itself in the new age of gaming now, because Resident Evil 7 was bloody great, and Monster Hunter World is amazing, and it really feels like Capcom have started to turn it around and modernize a bit. But I still feel like Sega is still, in some ways, kind of struggling with this. The fact that they're still completely squandering the Sonic IP is maddening, because Sonic is this amazing beloved IP, and they just keep releasing crap Sonic games. And I don't care if there's any Sonic fans in the audience who for some reason love those games. And there are people who love the 3D Sonic games. You're all wrong. All the 3D Sonic games are terrible. And I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. The best Sonic game that's come out in the last 1,000,000 years is Sonic Mania, which was made by some crazy modders, and that is where Sonic is best, in 2 bloody D. And for some reason, Sega doesn't seem to realize this. And I think, like, with a company like Microsoft and the vision that Phil Spencer has and stuff like that, and I really think Microsoft could help Sega modernize. But this is all redundant, because I don't think they're buying Sega. It's just unlikely.
Do you think anything's coming out of it other than maybe, hey, we would like some of your Japanese games on Xbox, possibly? That's like the only thing I can see out of it. Because the other, maybe. like the other rumor that spawned from all this, right, which I think is bull, and I said it in my video, was that Vanquish 2 was suddenly resurrected, and one guy, Marcus Sellers, an industry insider, and I use that in quotes because a lot of people doubt his credibility. He kind of makes things up sometimes, sees with 6. He says that he knows Vanquish 2 is not only in development, which would be amazing because I love Vanquish 1, but that Microsoft bought the exclusive rights to it, which is interesting because Vanquish 1 was made by Platinum Games. You would assume Platinum Games would be making Vanquish 2, But at the same time, are Platinum Games and Microsoft on the best like relationship ever since Microsoft canceled Scalebound and almost destroyed Platinum Games in the process before Nier Automata saved them? And then you think about like, okay, the guy who made Vanquish doesn't even work at the company anymore. He works with Bethesda on the Evil Within series, and it's like, man, like this rumor, like I don't believe this at all. Period. Even though I want to, even though I love Vanquish 2 to be real, like I think it's some rumor some dude just made up to just kind of get some notoriety. What do you think?
Yeah, sorry, I saw this rumor and I just kind of rolled my eyes. Like it was literally some comment on Discord, nothing to back it up and stuff like that. Like you say, Shinji Mikami's now at Bethesda. Not
Tango
Bethesda,
Gameworks.
Tango Gameworks, which are they a subsidiary?
I think Bethesda bought them. I'm
Yeah,
not 100%
okay,
on
so
that, but
maybe. And so he's over there, and and then you say, of course, Platinum Games probably aren't on the best terms with Microsoft now, but then at the end of the day, money talks. So like it's you don't know, and at the end of the day, if Sega says to Platinum Games, we have backing to make this happen, do you want to make this happen? Then maybe it can happen, or maybe Sega, if Sega own the IP, maybe they can ship it off to another developer. Although I don't know how it could work without Platinum Games, because Platinum Games are so Platinum Games.
yeah, they're busy.
You can't. No other company can make a Platinum game. It has to be Platinum Games to make that game. So it's but yeah, money talks. Money can change everything, and if and because Platinum Games are this company that rely on, they're an independent company, and they rely on gigs to keep going. They rely on money coming in. They rely on these projects from these big publishers and stuff like that. So like you have to imagine that maybe they bit off more than they could chew by taking on Scalebound and Nier Automata. Maybe they bit off more they can chew. They could chew there, and bad things happened or whatever. We still don't know the full story of why Scalebound got cancelled, but and we will probably never know, or it will probably come out in some journalist's memoirs in like 20 years or something like that, or something. But there's only rumors about why that was cancelled. But if Platinum Games doesn't have anything lined up after Bayonetta 3 and whatever else they're working on, presumably they're doing another Nier game as well, because Nier Automata was so successful. So if they don't have anything else lined up, maybe they would be willing to take money from Sega and Microsoft to make a Vanquish game, because that is, people are saying in chat they're the mercenaries of the gaming industry. They're a business. It's they're like Remedy. They are an independent company, and they rely on publishers' money to keep their business going. So because of that, I can see that it could possibly happen. But at the same time, I just think this rumor sort of came out of nowhere. And maybe it could be a thing, maybe it could not be a thing. But I haven't heard anything at my end. Have you heard anything at your end?
Nope, I'm not heard anything. I don't know. Like I don't trust Marcus Sellers, so like I'm inclined to believe. I'm inclined to believe like he just saw Sega and Microsoft meeting and was like, Vanquish 2 exclusive. I don't have any. I don't think it's true. I mean Vanquish. I mean, it was a great game, but it didn't sell well. I mean, if that's all Microsoft can get for, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of rumors. Like, we talk about all this stuff, right? But like, sometimes I just want to talk about cold hard facts.
That's
you know. And unfortunately, Microsoft, we don't get a lot of that lately with Microsoft. We don't really like after March. Like we're gonna go into like I'm leading into State of Decay 2 right here, but it's like Sea of Thieves March, great, but after that, who knows?
You know what?
You know
what, Rand? I'm gonna go back up to our previous topic here for a second.
Okay.
But do you know why I also think buying Sega would be a really good idea for Microsoft?
Okay.
Microsoft has a very small footprint in mobile games right now. And Sega actually has pretty decent mobile gaming business. So like, if Microsoft bought Sega, they'd get a bunch of mobile games as well, and they could slap Xbox achievements on all of those and Xbox integration, and further, get their tendrils into Android and stuff like that. Because they have very few mobile games right now, and the mobile games they do have are pretty good, but I don't know.
I still think it's incredibly unlikely. But okay, yeah, that you make a point there. But State of Decay 2 caused some raised eyebrows this past week because the UK retailers, Amazon Game and stuff, they discounted the game to £25, which is roughly 35 American, 40 US dollars. And people were like having flashbacks to Recore, like, oh god, we have a Recore situation again. People were like, the thing with this game was, I guess, first game was an arcade game, XBLA. It's $20, sold like 4 million copies. Microsoft was like, we're going to fund more. So there's 3 maps in this game. Each map is bigger than the entirety of the first game. It's got 4-player co-op, all this new stuff, Unreal Engine 4. So people are expecting a AAA experience. And of course, expectations are that you have to be $60 because there's this weird kind of perception in the gaming industry that if you're not $60, if you're $40, or if you're $30, then there's something wrong. Why aren't you selling your game for full price? There must be a problem. And even indie games face that to a certain extent. They're like, why? I've heard people say, like, why would I buy this game for $10? It's $10. It's $10 for a reason. Like I need my Call of Duties and my $60 AAA games. So there was this whole discussion about value for what you get for your money and stuff like that. Like, could State of Decay 2 be amazing at $30 instead of $60? And people were like, no, I need it to be $60 because then I know it's AAA and all this nonsense. But me and you talked, and you said you have some sort of information on it. I guess I don't know. Like, what do you got to speak on about State of Decay 2?
Okay, so when all this blew up, so it was Amazon.co.uk and Game.co.uk that both listed the game at 25 quid, which is about $35. People freaked out and they were starting to think, oh god, this is a AA game, it's not AAA. Oh my god, the game's going to be smaller in scope, blah blah blah, and all this. And I saw this blown up, so I contacted some of my sources. I got a good source at Game in retail who gives me information. And also, a few people at Microsoft who talked to me about things, and they were telling me it wasn't an error. And to be fair, that made sense to me because Game and Amazon don't communicate prices with each other. They get it direct from Microsoft and stuff like that. So we published an article saying that it looks like State of Decay 2 has had a price cut. Now, after all the drama and this started blowing up on Twitter and some people were freaking out, blah, 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 and worrying that the game was going to be bad, a couple of days later, Microsoft contacts the retailers and puts the prices back up to full price. So everyone was saying like, oh, it must have just been a mistake, blah, blah, blah. And, maybe it was. But now, this is the weird thing is I got back in touch with my pal at Game, and he said that he couldn't talk about it anymore. So, to me, that says Microsoft contacted him, and also I emailed Microsoft PR for clarification, and they didn't reply at all, which is very, very rare. It's very rare that Microsoft don't reply to PR requests. Extremely rare. In fact, I think that might be the first time ever Microsoft hasn't replied to me for a comment on something like this. So I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, it could have just been a complete mistake, or it could be that they're still deciding the price, and maybe there was some kind of cross wires, because it did. I was pretty sure that it wasn't. I had good reason to think that it wasn't a mistake, and people have still said to me it wasn't a mistake, and so I'm confused. So I don't know what the hell went down there, and if it is going to get a permanent price drop at some point still, but at least for the time being, it looks like a full price game again. But I don't know. It's kind of like we've got this like perception, like you mentioned earlier, and that a game that isn't full price must have something wrong with it. And I remember this whole thing with Recore as well, because like we got that really slick CGI trailer, and they were saying from the creator of Mega Man, blah blah blah, and Joe Staten was working on it and stuff like that. And they really hyped Recore up with this really beautiful CGI trailer. And then they're like, oh, by the way, it's $40 or $30 or however much it was. And I said to the devs, why is this not a full price game? And they were kind of like, well, the reason is we want to get as many people paying as possible. We think it'll appeal to younger audiences, and we know they don't have as much money, so we want to make sure that they can afford it. But obviously when the game came out, we find that it probably wasn't worth full price, because it doesn't have as many features as a full price game. It has this big open world that has very little in it, and it's not as rich or complicated as a game like Horizon Zero Dawn. So it was priced appropriately, and I rewarded it in my review of the game for saying they were flexible in the price, and they gave it a good price for the amount of content that was in the game. So it was kind of cool that Microsoft were willing to be flexible on the price of a game to try and reflect its quality. But like some people are kind of like, no, all games have to be $60 and all games have to be AAA unless they're an indie game. If they're an indie game, then it's okay to be below $60. But if you're a big publisher like Microsoft, anything less than a $60 AAA super duper game is trash. Like a company like Microsoft apparently can't make or fund a smaller game. And I don't know why we have that mentality. I think Microsoft should be completely allowed, and I think bigger studios should be allowed to fund smaller games. And I actually published an article last year saying what they should do to mitigate this perception is bring back the Xbox Live Arcade branding and just say, this is when Microsoft does find the capacity to fund and invest in a smaller game, maybe it isn't AAA, maybe it isn't worth $60, but Microsoft really likes the game, they want to fund the game, but they don't necessarily want to create an inflated expectation that a company like Microsoft does with all of its money. Like when Microsoft Studios is attached to a game, you automatically think, oh, Microsoft has infinite cash. This game should be a AAA game like Horizon Zero Dawn. But no, that's not how life works. So Armature Studios, they're a smaller studio. They aren't a huge, massive studio like Bungie. They're a smaller studio. And considering what they produced with Recore on the Unity engine of all things, I think Recore is a damn good game, considering what it was. It was $40. It was built on Unity, and it was made by a small studio. And for that, I gave it a lot of praise, and I thought it was quite fun. And I got through it, without hating myself. Like, I'm trying to review Metal Gear Survive right now, and I absolutely hate myself playing it because it is soulless, it is grindy, and it's oppressive and terrible and a cash-in. It's a terrible game so far, Metal Gear Survive, and it's painful. But so to me, that isn't worth $40, and I don't, Metal Gear Survive should have been priced even lower. So anyway, I think Microsoft to mitigate this drama that Microsoft creates, and I know Microsoft has this ethos that games are games, and that's why Idea Xbox shares a store with Idea Xbox shares a store with the rest of the game store, because games are games and prices should be flexible and stuff like that. I think if Microsoft wants to release these AA experiences that are below $60, and they don't want to have the stigma that they bring along by being this big corporate juggernaut with infinite money, I mean, that's the perception people have. I'm not saying they do have infinite money, although they do have like $150 billion in liquid cash, but they do have a lot of money, but Xbox certainly doesn't have infinite money.
Yeah.
But people have that perception. So what they should do is they should bring back Xbox Live Arcade as a brand and put games like Recore under that brand. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care what price State of Decay 2 is. I know people were... You see this, like I said, this whole pricing thing. Like $60, you expect this huge AAA experience. $40, like you think, oh, something's wrong if they're not pricing it right. But the other thing in this is Game Pass, because for a lot of people, State of Decay 2 is going to be $10, you know, because every game's in there. And I don't know what you say to that. Like, and I think Microsoft is holding off all information about State of Decay 2 until after Sea of Thieves is out.
Yeah.
I saw Greenberg like tweet out that he was at the, on Dead Labs or whatever. Like, they'll probably have a blowout for all the State of Decay 2 information and a release date, because I firmly believe that game's coming out before E3. I don't think Crackdown is. I think Crackdown's after. But at that point, when they fully blow it out, and if the game is whatever price it is, if it's cheaper, if it's expensive, they'll try to justify it by saying, we have all this stuff, it's $60, or they'll use another thing like, we want more people to play it, and it gives great value, and it's $40, or whatever it's going to be, That'll all be kind of announced together, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's people get like, this is the other thing. This goes back to the whole Sega thing too, is that the unknown. It's all about the unknown with Xbox, which I think people they grasp onto any rumor, they grasp onto any positive or negative thing, because nobody knows what the future holds. Like, Sony will come out and tell you their future, for the next 3 years. Nintendo, but with Xbox, it's kind of like, we've known Sea of Thieves, State of Decay 2, and Crackdown were supposed to come last year, to this year. We don't know anything else after E3, and it's like, so people like kind of want to connect the dots and be like, okay, this is what Microsoft's doing. Oh, Sega's there. Oh, they must be buying the company. Oh, all this stuff. And I think part of it is the frustration that people have of wanting Xbox to do something, but not seeing it because they're waiting for the right moment to announce these things, right? So they kind of fill in the blanks, I think this has part of it to do with it as well. Like, they see the pricing error, and then like a conversation starts about Microsoft games and why is State of Decay $30? Like, people just, I was a proponent of them and not announcing games too far off, right? But clearly that hasn't worked out very well. Clearly, like, announcing games coming out, well, they haven't even really done that, because like Sea of Thieves was basically announced in 2015. State of Decay was 2016. Crackdown's going on 4 years at this point. I don't know. Like, I think people are just, they fear the unknown, and they want something to hold on to. And much similar to the way Sony has Death Stranding, and even if you don't know what's going on, like with Sony's like holiday or when their games are launching this year, it's like, they're all coming eventually, because Sony says they are, and they come out. With Xbox, it's kind of like, oh man, what's the future hold for us? I don't know if that's like, if you agree with any of that, but I think that plays a part into it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's complicated, but it's like you say, they're damned if they do, and they're damned if they don't. Announced too early, GG. People get annoyed if things get delayed, cancelled, blah blah blah. Announced too late, there's not enough hype. People obsess over Sony's lineup, which is pretty vast, or at least the perception of it is very vast, even though a lot of it's far away. Like, when's Final Fantasy 7 coming out? 10 years? Like Final Fantasy 15? But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'd do if I was in Microsoft's position. What would you do, man?
If I was in Phil's position,
how would you balance it? Would you give that whole roadmap now, and like warts and all?
Well, here's the thing. We talked a little bit last week about Phil's speech at DICE, right? And I hadn't listened to it at the time, but I have listened to it. And Phil talked about, and I'm not going to talk about the inclusivity, diversity stuff. You can listen to my video. This is strictly going to be about Xbox, right? He talked about how they hit a road bump, and it was painful to read all the headlines with the launch of the Xbox One. And more importantly than that, how the people who make Xbox, the employees, had no more faith in the leadership team to understand what consumers wanted, right? They felt that the leadership team at Xbox was completely out of touch with what gamers wanted and expected, right? So of course there was a change up at the top. Don Matrick got the boot. Mark Whitten got the boot. There was a whole bunch of, changing of the deck, along with like Microsoft's new CEO. Phil Spencer was the head. He was basically also running first party studios the entire time. Matt Booty's now in running the first party studios. Ybarra got promoted to run platform, all this stuff, right? And people, the main complaint, and Phil's talked about this, he said it a lot, is that he's very aware of the memes that go around about Xbox and their software lineup, about how Xbox doesn't have doesn't have any games. Yeah, the X is great. It's a great system, plays all these games great in 4K. It's got backwards compatibility, but then of course people say, who wants to play old games, right? The perception is that Xbox doesn't have any quality exclusive content, whether it's because it's on PC or whatever, and Nintendo and Microsoft and Sony do. But the thing is about being back to the tone deaf thing. Phil's mentioned that was the reason they all got booted outside of a struggling product. The Xbox team didn't think they were up to the snuff. They didn't know what consumers wanted. Phil's talked about knowing what people expect and what people want. So the last two E3s, when they haven't announced a new IP, they think they're fully aware of what gamers expect. So, like, what they have to do, in my opinion, of course, this is just my opinion. I'm a meaningless YouTuber in the grand scheme of things, but I don't think a lot of people expect that. Like, people just want a tiny morsel, just a sliver of hope, right? Something you can hang your hat on. And whether it's showing the Fable game from Playground Games, even if that's a next-gen title, right? That's what you need to do. You need to show that game. If you're doing Mech Assault, you need to show that game. Because as much as I'm looking forward to Halo 6, as much as like I'll enjoy Gears 5, the tried and true formula games, and like Forza Horizon 4, like that doesn't necessarily cut it anymore. People want something new and different. And the whole spiel about, hey, we want to invest in first party, we want to buy new studios. You've been saying that for 4 years now. And I understand things go behind the scenes. There wasn't a lot of money, like the boss man was putting a kibosh on investments, which is why we're in this situation as it is. But if you say it, eventually you have to prove it to people. You know what I mean? Like, you can't constantly keep on saying it and saying, we want to invest in first party and grow it, but then never actually do it. So you have to show that. And I'm not saying they have to show that this year, but they have to show a recommitment to newer IPs and things that aren't necessarily Halo and Forza and Gears. That's kind of my take. Like, they have to show a peek behind the curtain. Like, I know they don't want to because Scalebound screwed them and Fable Legends screwed them and all that stuff, but they just got to peek behind the curtain. These are stuff in development. Pull a Sony, say, hey, yeah, we know these games are 2-3 years out, but they're coming. You can hang your head on these games and then close the curtain again. And then if they're not ready to talk about next year, then don't talk about it. But in my opinion, that's what I think they need to do.
I agree. I think peek behind the curtain is a good way of putting it. I disagree with you saying that they shouldn't do it this year, though, or they don't need to do it this year. I think they do.
I said they do it this year. Well, I was more talking about they don't need to announce like a new studio this year, but they need to show behind the curtains about the games that are in development.
Yeah, I think, and I think they will. I think like every year they've kind of the last 2 years, Microsoft have been aggressively responding to the memes about them. So like they did super pro consumer things with the whole backwards compatibility thing and the E3 before, and then they did the whole Xbox One X to address the power meme. No one can say Xbox One X isn't powerful. The whole resolution debate's gone out the window now. So now they've got the last meme left, which is Xbox doesn't invest in games. Xbox can't execute AAA, and I know everyone at Microsoft is well aware that that's the perception. So I do think they need to show that they can do something like that. And also, like, some people are saying in chat like they're tired of Halo and Gears and Forza and stuff. I agree with that as well. You know, I and like you said, they need to do something new. I think we talked about this last week. I don't think Gears as a corridor shooter can just keep coming out as a corridor shooter and just succeeding like that. And I think the formula needs to be changed up a bit. They need to do something fresh. And like Halo 5 was successful from a financial point of view because of the microtransactions. But man, the campaign was completely unmemorable. Like I can't even remember what happened. I just remember being annoyed at that robot dude constantly showing up.
The Warden of Eternal.
Yeah, I can't even remember his name or what he was about. I just remember that one scene from the trailer where he screams at the camera, and then how annoying he was every time he showed up to fight. And I just hate the Prometheans as enemies. Where's the bloody flood? Bring them back. But that's a whole nother discussion. So I do think it'd be a good idea either to bring back something really nostalgic like Mecha Soul or Mech Warrior, the Mech Warriors, the franchise and stuff, and the whole Battletech franchise is sort of coming back into the forefront now because Battletech is coming out for PC in April. It was announced today, and Battletech obviously is the same universe, the same franchise as Mech Assault and Mech Warrior, and the original creators on board and back up full force. Go to them and do a deal because Battletech is bloody amazing. I've played the alpha and it's absolutely amazing game. It's like, but it's like more like XCOM. It's not like Mech Assault was.
Yeah.
But we need a proper mech game, big heavy mechs, not these like ninja mechs like in Titanfall, which are cool, they're fine, but man, I need like super heavy proper mechs like Mech Assault and stuff like that. So
well, I want to
see new or nostalgic, two ends.
The other thing that is also a factor in this is Game Pass. Like, and I've been told the content's coming, right? I don't know what the content is, but I've been told the content's coming and Game Pass is going to help. And if Microsoft feels that the Game Pass is their new kind of bread and butter, so to speak, right? Then you have to provide content to keep people subscribed all year long. And while this year seems pretty good for Game Pass value-wise, you're going to have State of Decay 2, you're going to have Sea of Thieves, you're going to have Crackdown 3, you're probably going to have Forza Horizon 4, maybe something else, maybe a Halo spin-off game. That's great. But then comes next year. You can't, like, they're in the situation where you have a subscription service. They've changed the nature of it by having first parties in there, games day and date. Now they have to provide the content. But then again, I think Game Pass and all those recent rumors about Fable and all that stuff are for next gen. Microsoft is clearly, in my opinion, starting about next gen or thinking about it. And I want to ask you, Jez, because first I want to give a shout out to Shannon Lovely for the super chat. Really appreciate it. How close do you think next gen is? Because one of your favorite developers, CD Projekt Red, I don't know if you saw what image they tweeted out, right, or whatever.
Didn't they say that Cyberpunk is a next-gen game?
Yeah, so it says here, establishing a new blockbuster franchise, new universe, set in a futuristic world, blending science fiction with modern culture, and rich, true-to-life visuals built on current and next-gen technology.
Wow.
So here's the thing. I think this generation is winding down completely. Whether the systems come in 2019 or 2020, you already have a developer talking about next gen. Like, these systems are coming, and they're coming soon. The question is how soon and how powerful will these systems be? I mean, you have CD Projekt Red already openly talking about it, Jez. What's going on here?
It's so weird, but there is an opportunity here for Microsoft and Sony to really push something really powerful out. Something that can do 4K always, 60 FPS always, and because we're not going to 8K for a long time. 4K is going to be it for a while, at least 3 or 4 or 5 years. 3 at the least, I would say, for 4K. I mean, man, TV isn't even fully co-op to 1080p yet. It's so weird the way technology is moving, but there is something bottlenecking PC gaming right now, and that's all those bloody crypto miners doubling the price of GPUs and stuff like that. Like if if something isn't done about the whole crypto GPU inflation stuff, console gaming is going to be like, console gaming could leapfrog PC for a little while as the most cost efficient way, because because GPU prices don't look to be slowing down. And Nvidia said this week that GPU prices are still going to be elevated for the rest of this year at least. You know, in some cases tripling the price, like Infinity DOK says in chat. But it's like it's crazy. So like if Microsoft and Sony can sort of try and get some of the PC gamers over with the promise of like cheaper systems that produce these sort of amazing visuals, meanwhile crypto miners are pushing up the price of GPUs and stuff like that. And you know, if there's an opportunity there, you know, to make true 4K 60 FPS systems, but at the same time it's kind of like, man, the Xbox One X only just came out, Rand. If Microsoft releases an Xbox One X2, or, you know, I don't know, an Xbox, I don't know, 4K or whatever you want to call it, if they release the next Xbox in 2020, won't people be really mad?
I mean, that's the risk you run. I mean, I know, like, I feel like Xbox fans who have the X are happy. Yeah, they want more exclusives, but I mean, who doesn't? PlayStation fans, I haven't heard of a PlayStation fan who's like, bring on the PS5. They're perfectly happy with the PS4. In fact, unlike last gen, because by the end of last gen, by like 2011, people were begging for the generation to be over. People were like on the knees pleading, like, please give us new systems. The PS3 and the 360 are so old. But I don't hear the same kind of call now, because I feel we are 2 years away from next gen, right? And here you have like a developer already saying, by the way, our next game, our next, who never knows when, you know, because the rumors are Cyberpunk. Well, it's not a rumor; they are at E3. You know, why would they be at E3? Are they showing off Cyberpunk 2077? That's probably the good choice, because I doubt they have any Witcher 3 content, right? Yeah. So you're sitting there thinking like, oh my God, this gen's coming to an end. You have one developer talking about it already. And if one developer is talking about it, you know these publishers are planning for it, which means you know the console manufacturers are thinking about it, and they've been thinking about it for years. It's like, oh my God, like we're at the end. But I don't feel like well,
they said, didn't they? They said at the E3 where the X was launched, in some interview, I can't remember the quote or where it was from, but someone at Xbox said that the next Xbox is already in the planning stages when the Xbox One X had shipped. So, you know, of course they're thinking about it. They're always thinking about it. Do you think, like, surely nobody thinks that these console engineers, after they ship a console, they just take a break? No, they go back to work and they start planning the next.
No, but the difference is, in 2011, people were demanding new systems. In 2018, nobody's demanding new systems yet. Like maybe the mid-gen upgrade kind of took, like, the PS4 Pro and the X kind of alleviated some of that, right? But I don't see people being like, I need the PS5 now. You know, I need the next Xbox now. It's a total different kind of thing from when it was back in 2011, and it's only going to get more pronounced. Like, I wonder, they're saying next generation tech. Do they know? Has Microsoft and Sony already asked Cyberpunk or CD Projekt Red what they're targeting for next gen at this point? I mean, you know, there are people out there that really, really think the PlayStation 5 is coming next year, and that the Xbox will come the year after. I mean, if it's 2019, like, this is it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if the PlayStation 5 is truly 2019, like some people say, then they're going to reveal it like a year from now. You know, like it's just kind of like just dawning on me, like, oh my God, here we go, a next generation. Like it just feels like this one kind of almost started to a certain point, like finally getting like some really good games. You know, Sony's first party is like really kicking it in gear. Microsoft's first party is like trying to find their footing, but then again, maybe Microsoft was just like, we'll wait until next gen, where all these new games are coming out, right? Now I want to also talk about Games with Gold versus PlayStation Plus, because oh boy,
Should we talk this briefly and then take some questions?
Yeah. If you got to get going. So we did on last week. Microsoft, they gave games gold, and nobody really liked the lineup. It was like Trials of the Blood Dragon and
Lame.
I don't know, Super Hot, which is awesome, and a couple 360 games like Brave, and I can't even think of the other one. Today, Sony just twisted the knife in some more. Like they always kind of do this because they had two announcements, but the one announcement was Horizon Zero Dawn selling like 7.5 million copies, which congrats to Guerrilla Games. That is amazing for a new IP. 7 million is pretty amazing, but the PS Plus games for this month just destroy Xbox. It, like, kind of, when you compare them, it's like, oh, so they're getting Bloodborne and Ratchet and Clank, which Bloodborne is one of the highest rated games of this gen. People love Ratchet and Clank. There's honestly no comparison between the two. But with the great news of these good games hitting the service, Sony snuck in a little update to PS Plus, and that next year, starting March of next year, that they will no longer be offering PS3 and Vita games in the subscription. And I saw Polygon reached out to them, and Polygon did in fact get a quote saying that going next year, so March of 2019, that PSN Plus would only offer 2 PS4 games for free.
Yeah.
So of course, I mean, you throw in a whole bunch of good news, great games, a little bit of bad news, kind of similar to how Sony, did the whole paying for multiplayer at E3. If you remember how they did that during the conference. Yeah, but man, geez, there's no comparison. Like the last couple months, PSN Plus has basically destroyed games with gold. And I think most of that's kind of because Microsoft is focused on Game Pass at this point. But
yeah, there's definitely like Sony have sort of doubled down on the focus with the PSN free games. So like I would argue that 2 quality games is probably better than 4 crappy games or 4 super old games. Super Hot's great, obviously, but who doesn't own Super Hot at this point? Bloodborne's still pretty expensive. It's not super cheap, even though it's pretty old. So I do think that there's a balance to be struck there. It's kind of like you've made a presumption that Game Pass draws from the same budget as Xbox Live Games with Gold. I don't think it necessarily does, although I think Game Pass is probably its own separate investment, and also it has its own cash flow. So you would hope that they don't affect each other. But at the same time, Games with Gold is eating into the margins of Xbox Live Games with Xbox Live Gold. So it's kind of like Microsoft thought, you know what, we'll create some differentiation by offering backwards compatible games. But I think it might probably be better. I think it'd probably be better if they offer I think it'd be better if they offered 2 games that were just high quality. I don't know what do you think? Do you think it'd be better if they offered less games that were higher quality, or because I don't think the 360 the 2 360 games offer a great deal of value.
I mean, if I was Microsoft, I'd offer 2 Xbox One games that were of good quality versus like 1 of decent quality and then 3. I mean, like, but then again, that's me. Like, Microsoft wants the 360 games because they feel it adds value because it adds them the back and pat. So you can say you get 4 free games with your Xbox One. The back and pat stuff clearly means something to the company as a whole, and we talked about that earlier. And like, because I see people like saying like, oh well, there's this conversation that's turned about like, why do you subscribe to either service, right? Like, what's the point? Like, why do you subscribe to Xbox Live Gold, or why do you subscribe to PSN Plus? And I would imagine the vast majority of people subscribe to either service not for the free games, but because they want to play multiplayer in the games they buy, right? I would imagine that's kind of the whole point of both services is to, people want to play multiplayer in Call of Duty and Destiny, and those games sell the most. Like, I don't think most people even care about the free games they get. You know what I mean? Like, I remember when Sunset Overdrive came to not the Game Pass, but Xbox Live Gold, and it barely got 1 million downloads. And there's whatever, tens of millions or 20 million gold subscribers. So I'm not sure a lot of people even bother to take advantage of the perk of subscribing to either. Like, they only subscribe to the multiplayer portion. Let me ask you this. I'm going to ask everybody in chat. I'm going to ask you. If Microsoft and Sony made multiplayer free, right? But you can still subscribe to $60 a year and get free games, would you still be subscribed to PSN Plus and Xbox Live? I'll tell you for a fact I wouldn't be. If I can play multiplayer for free and party chat for free, I don't care about the free games they're giving me because, number one, I played them all already and they're all older games. I don't know about what you guys think, but I wouldn't subscribe to Xbox Live if I subscribe because party chat's locked behind it and multiplayer is locked behind it. I don't care about the free games.
I think the mentality is at least the mentality used to be with Xbox Live. It probably doesn't have as much as an effect now, but I think it's kind of like people thought like, okay, if I'm on Xbox 360, and a lot of people are still on Xbox 360 paying for Xbox Live Gold. If they are seeing on their Xbox 360s that 2 of the games coming out each month are being wasted because they don't have an Xbox One, that could be a way to get them to buy an Xbox One. Now, in the last MPD, Nintendo won, Sony was second, Xbox was third, but apparently there was only 3% margin between the two. So you have to presume that people are buying a lot of Xboxes, basically, at this point. At least they're keeping up with Sony and Nintendo Switch. So I would think that there is a possibility that games with gold on the 360 is actually maybe driving part of that, possibly. I got no data to back that up. It's just a pure assumption. But there are still tens of millions of people subscribed to Xbox Live on the Xbox 360 for some reason. It's still probably playing Modern Warfare 2. So, like, how do you get those people to upgrade? They're getting loads of value from Xbox Live Gold. That's being wasted. So,
hey, Mega Bad Seed has a question for us. He wants to know what's wrong with Microsoft throwing in a couple of Xbox One games that are in Game Pass into games with gold.
I don't know. I mean, that devalues Game Pass, doesn't it?
Not everybody, like I said, not everybody downloads the games when they're free. I mean, they're only free for a month, so you could be getting your Xbox in the future. I mean, there are games, a lot of the games with gold games have gone to Game Pass, but I wouldn't say everybody's had the chance to download those games, right?
There is some weird overlap with Game Pass.
There is.
Live. It's like it's almost confusing. I think like if people if you spoke to someone who didn't really know what Xbox was, and you said, like, for example, my little cousin recently got an Xbox, and I was trying to explain, because she's like, for younger generation, she comes from like mobile games and stuff like that. The concept of paying to play online is alien to her. And I'm like, well, okay, I've got to get you an Xbox Live subscription. And she's like, why? And I'm like, well, because you need to play online. And she's like, why? Stuff like that. And then I gave her a code for Xbox Game Pass, and she was like, so hang on, I need to pay for Xbox Live and I need to pay for Game Pass. And it was confusing for her, because coming in from, like, if you're a PC gamer or a mobile gamer from a younger generation, these things they're a bit weird, and Microsoft's really the only person who's doing them. But at least you can say to people, well, Games Pass is kind of like Netflix in a way, but then at the same time, people think like, well, why do I have to pay for Games Pass and Live? Why can't I just pay for one thing?
Well, the value proposition has shifted for me. Like, before, I didn't care about Game Pass. Like I have all the games, and I never really got any use out of games with gold. But now with the first party games coming into Game Pass, now I actually have a reason, because instead of buying those 3 games we talked about, which would cost me $180 or potentially, $240 if you include Forza Horizon 4, like if I'm subscribing like for $10, I'm paying $120. Like there's value there in that. Like I can play those games at a significant cost reduction, and they're new. That's the thing. They're new. The things about, even with Bloodborne and Ratchet and Clank being how like really good those titles are, Bloodborne's a title from 2015. Ratchet and Clank, I believe, is a title from 2016. So people are excited, yes, but we're like, neither of these services really offer anything that is new. And if they are new, they're launching into the service right away, like Rocket League and stuff like that. But normally the bigger games, they're old because like they've stopped selling, or like Bloodborne's at this point 3 years old. Yeah, give it away. Why not? 3 years old. But I don't know. For me, Game Pass just has more value strictly because of the first party stuff. Otherwise, to me, like, I don't know. I subscribe, like I said, I subscribe to play them. Like I subscribed back in the day on the 360. I had no issue to it because I played all these multiplayer games and wanted to party chat. And that's why I subscribe. If you took away those things and you didn't lock them behind a paywall, I'd unsubscribe in a second, because the free games, for the vast majority of them, they aren't good. I don't need Trials from the Blood Dragon. I mean, this is me personally. Like, I can only speak for myself. I know a lot of people out there, maybe you don't listen to the show, like, they're like, oh, yeah, I can play Trials. I can get these new games to play. That's great. But, like, for me, it's like, like, I don't know. I don't really care.
Well, honestly, I would, if I was Microsoft, I would get rid of the games and hire some more devs and fix Xbox on Windows 10 because it's garbage right now.
Yeah. Well, you said you wanted to take a couple questions before we get out of here.
Yeah, man. Let's take a couple of questions because it's getting late in Germany. It's almost midnight.
Almost midnight.
Almost midnight. That's how much I love you guys. I stay up really late and destroy my sleep cycle just for you. So give us some questions about Xbox or gaming or whatever, and we'll answer a few of them, and then get out of here and let you guys carry on with your lives.
Yeah. Make sure you check out the show on iTunes and Google Play and SoundCloud and anywhere else iTunes are. Subscribe, rate, all that good stuff if you want to listen to it outside of YouTube. That's I don't really care. It talks about it for 30 minutes. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm a different type of person. I have over 1,000 Xbox One games.
Ignore SpongeBob. Is just
SpongeBob. He's a troll. He's a troll.
He's mean. He's mean on the morning mixer, and it's just mean. It's okay. We like SpongeBob, but he's mean. He's big mean. Can you please explain why people don't consider an Xbox game on PC as an Xbox exclusive? It drives me crazy. Yeah, I don't know. This is sort of like this is mental gymnastics where people want to make an argument and they just assume a position just so they can say Xbox has no exclusives because all these games are on PC, blah, 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 blah. Microsoft says there's not much overlap, but at the end of the day, Microsoft doesn't care, because if you're gaming on PC, you are gaming on their platform, and Microsoft has a duty to make the Windows 10 store viable. They're not doing a good job of it, but there's that. But it's part of Phil Spencer's job to make gaming better on PC, and part of that is bringing games to PC. And it's all the same ecosystem. You need an Xbox gamer tag to play those games on PC. So, it's the same developer tool chain. It's the vision of the original Xbox, So the vision of the original Xbox back in the day was that it would basically be a console PC, and that's why it had a x86 architecture. They couldn't realize it at the time because they couldn't pack the necessary compute into a box like that. But now they can, and the Xbox One now is basically a UWP machine that can run UWP apps. Has a web browser. You can install a Philips Hue light app on your Xbox and control your smart lights with it if you want to. also they actually got Facebook running on Xbox, but they never released it. But it is possible. So you know, Xbox still has a lot of unrealized potential because it has the Windows kernel, and it can do Windows things.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's all the same platform. I don't know.
I wanted to give a shout out to Ryan Hicks, who used Super Chat earlier. He said, "Love this podcast. Keep up the good work, guys." And Mega Bad Seed also hit up Super Chat and said, "Good show, guys." So really appreciate the support. The whole PC thing, like Xbox, like not being exclusive or whatever, like Microsoft views it if it's not on PlayStation as exclusive, right? I know people like people. Man, like people like to use lists for console war stuff. So like a game like, well, yeah, like a game like Deep Rock Galactic, which is on Xbox One and Windows 10. If you said it's Xbox exclusive, you'd have some PC guy jump in there and be like, it's on PC, or you'd have like a PlayStation guy be like, well, it doesn't matter because it's on PC. Microsoft doesn't care at the end of the day.
They just want you in their ecosystem.
Yeah,
they want you buying a PC, not a Mac. They want you buying an Xbox, not a PlayStation. If you're buying a PC to play Sea of Thieves on PC, you're not buying an Apple Mac because Sea of Thieves is never going to be on Mac ever.
Yeah.
Deep Rock Galactic might be because it's coming to Steam, but the UWP is never coming to Mac. So Mac. I mean, anyone who's gaming on a Mac is just silly anyway. But so some people do.
Ed Torrey says, should Xbox have a family share for more than 2 consoles in a house? Should they? Probably.
Well,
will they? Probably not.
Well, the thing is, the whole console sharing thing isn't exactly official anyway, is it?
Yeah.
The console sharing thing is a byproduct of their dual licensing system, where you get a license for the cloud and you get a license for local. It's not actually supported. Like, if you look through Microsoft's support system, there's nothing on there that says this is how you family share between 2 consoles. It's not what they want you to do.
No, there is Jez, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, if you go on Xbox.com and type in like Xbox like Gold Share, they have a page dedicated to it or whatever, because I've seen it.
But not the whole set your
Well, no, they talk about if anybody's like they talk about it if you're at your house. Like if somebody can like play the games that you own on your console and stuff like that. Like it is, in that sense, it is supported. But like,
the thing is, I know people who console share across continents.
Well, yeah, of course, everybody does it because that's the way the DRM is structured. You explained it. You get a license for the game locally on the console that you bought it, your home console, and a license for the gamer tag that bought it, right? I'm not going to explain how that all goes work, but people have figured it out. It works the same basically on PlayStation as it does on Xbox. It worked on the 360. It was just a little bit harder to pull off. Now it's like super easy. So I doubt they're going to want... I doubt publishers and developers would want Microsoft to expand on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's more... It's like you say, it's more publishers and developers, because Microsoft isn't opposed to this idea because they do it for Office. Like, if I subscribe to Office 365, I pay... I can't remember. I think it's £7 a month or something, because I like to have a terabyte of OneDrive storage. I like to have Office products, blah blah blah, and I pay for Office 365. I can share Office 365 with up to 4 family members, and I just put their emails in, and then they have Office 365 as well. So they are not against that concept. I think it's more just the devs and stuff are against it. But that said, I think Rand, I don't know why they couldn't do Xbox Live Gold multiplayer sharing, because it is super annoying that me and my brother have to pay for Xbox Live Gold when we're in the same house. That is silly. And Game Pass too. That is silly. Like, why can't they should do that? Because
if you go to the support page and read it, if
no, but I already console share with someone else.
Oh, that's the issue. If you console shared with your brother, you wouldn't have to. You both wouldn't have to pay for Gold.
I should be able to console share with everyone in my household.
Well, I mean, it's the way the DRM structured. I don't see them changing it to unless it's like, by the way, pay $100 a year and you get extra console share. Maybe some people would.
If they offered like a family discount, like they do for Netflix and Spotify. Like on Netflix, you can pay a little bit more, and then you get like 4 concurrent streams, I think. And it's like it's still cheaper than paying for 4 separate Netflix subscriptions.
So Ryan Landis wants to know if we think the X and the Pro will get a refresh before this generation is over.
I've heard very vague, probably not true rumors that there might be an X refresh.
Don't do them like that, Jez. They just bought it.
Well, I can't. There's no evidence to back this up, so don't spread this or anything. You probably will, but
don't even say, if you don't want it spread. Don't even say anything because you don't want the Reset Era dudes talking about it. You don't need it on Reddit, so just keep your mouth shut.
This is just one of those.
Keep your mouth shut on this one, Jez. Just don't say anything.
Well, it's just one of those random little things that I've heard that probably isn't true. Kind of like the Vanquish thing, but I did hear that there might be a Slim X, like a driverless X or something like that. But then again, we heard the driverless Xbox One rumor for years, so it probably isn't true. But I do think if they did a Slim X without a disk drive, I think that'd be awesome because I never use the disk drive on my X. It's just wasted tech, and I bet there are a lot of gamers out there who don't use the disk drive on their console. So I mean, that's what I've heard.
If they could somehow put out a slim Xbox One X this year without a disk drive and cut the price and sell it at $400, I don't know. Like most of these, I don't know. Like it's a mid-gen upgrade is kind of never been done before. Like we know the consoles themselves get refreshes all the time, sometimes 2, sometimes 3. So would Sony refresh the Pro? Maybe they refresh the Pro, make it smaller, and sell it at a cheaper price point. And maybe Microsoft does the same. It's just we have no kind of data to back up that they will or won't do it. I could see them both doing a refresh. Yeah,
I can see them doing a refresh
because they're still going to be selling PS4s and Xbox Ones when next generation begins. So it's not like it would go to waste.
Yeah. Shall we get this last question from Joe Sinister? He says, Jezzelran, has there been any rumblings at all of who Microsoft might be looking to acquire as far as first-party developers go? Rand, have you heard anything?
About who they want to acquire? I've heard they wanted to, they put out feelers about buying Blizzard and about buying Naughty Dog and then about buying CD Projekt Red. How's that for some hot rumors? You call me Randall Marcus Sellers.
Randall Sellers. I heard they wanted to buy SpaceX so they could make a space-based Xbox where you could use your Xbox to actually travel to space. I actually heard that. And also, I also heard that they want to buy Nestle and make Xbox cereal, like little X's, and you pour milk on them, and it's 4K cereal.
Yeah. I nobody would tell me. Like, if anything, if I would find out, it would be like the day before it happens. I like, even if I would find out, I don't know.
I don't know either. That kind of rumor is so hot. That kind of information is so
like insider trading stuff that, if they're publicly traded companies, like there's so many rules against that stuff.
Yeah, nobody would know. Like literally only a few people at Xbox would know that, and a few people at the studios. Nobody would know, because if people did know, they'd be like, "Oh God, am I going to lose my job?" Stuff like that, and it'd affect people's share prices and stuff like that. Those kind of rumors very rarely come out unless it's very close to happening. Like, I don't know. Like there have been things where like it's like, oh, Business Insider. It's usually Business Insider which gets these kind of rumors, and it's kind of like Business Insider is reporting that this company is looking to buy this company, and then they. And it's like the next day it comes out because it started to spread through the PR companies. Press releases are being written, and someone leaks it. That's the only time it'll come out. So I don't know. There's no information about that. That's why I don't believe that EA rumor stuff. I will tell you one thing though, Rand. I did hear that Microsoft tried to buy Discord.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
And a lot of companies tried to buy Discord. A lot of companies, and Discord said no. They didn't want to be bought.
You know, we know Microsoft tried buying PUBG, PUBG Core, Bluehole, and they didn't sell. So
one last question. Ant Money says, question: Triss or Yennefer?
Oh, Triss all the way. Are you serious? Oh my!
I agree. It's
Triss all the way.
Triss is special. She has a special place.
Exactly.
Because of Witcher 2, though, not just because of Witcher 3. Yennefer wasn't in Witcher 2, and Triss was in all of them. So Triss is just my favorite.
Anyways,
cosplays, man. Triss cosplays.
That is the show. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us on YouTube, putting your comments in the chat. Thank you guys if you're listening on iTunes or Google Play or anywhere else we're up on, like SoundCloud. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Jez, what's on the docket for you the rest of the week?
Well, first of all, for people watching, I do want to advertise a tiny little giveaway we're doing on Windows Central right now. So if you go to WC Gaming Tweets on Twitter or go to windowscentral.com, we are giving away a Sea of Thieves limited edition controller and an Xbox One X. So if you go to windowscentral.com, somewhere on the front page, there is we're giving away an Xbox One X. So if you want to win an Xbox One X, Sea of Thieves, and the controller, go and enter. There's a Gleam widget, a few entry conditions, and yeah, maybe you win an X. So that's awesome. Other than that, I'll be writing a preview of Deep Rock Galactic probably this weekend, and getting ready to turn Windows Central into Sea of Thieves Central, because we are planning a lot of content for Sea of Thieves.
Nice.
So yeah, that's me. What about you, Rand?
You know, same old, playing games, doing videos, doing reviews. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the podcast. It helps out a lot. Share it out on Twitter so more people can check it out. You know, sub if you haven't already. All that good stuff that I usually say for the end of my videos. But thanks, guys, for watching. And me and Jazz will be back next Wednesday for a new show. And who knows what we'll be talking about. Later, guys. Have a good one.